Hey everybody, it's Tay from Roy's, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a start menu in Godot. I define a start menu as a thing that can go to other menus and can start the game, but doesn't really have much other functionality. So let's get started. First, I'm going to create a user interface, and I'm going to call this our main menu. I'm going to add a couple children to our main menu, so first one is going to be a panel container. And I'm going to call this menu tab 1. And now we're going to add a VBox container, which is going to keep everything in our menu tab in a vertical line. And I'm going to add another child to the VBox container of a label. And I'm going to add another child of the VBox container called a button. I'm going to call our label, and I'm just going to give it the title main menu. Let's change the font, increase the size. So theme overrides, font sizes. That's too big. That'll be good for now. And our button, I'm going to give a text of start game. And I'm going to duplicate this. Actually, I'm going to first set our theme overrides font. And I'm going to set that to be bigger. There we go. And I'm going to duplicate this 2 times. So button 2 will be our options button. And button 3 will be our quit game button. Now we want this in the center of the screen, so if we go into main menu and click layout, we can set our anchor presets to the center. And if we do that in our menu tab as well, layout mode, anchors, anchor presets, center, it'll be in the center of our screen. So let's save our scene, and I'm going to leave this as main menu. Now let's do some coding and let's attach a script to our scene. I'm going to call this script our main menu manager. Now that we're in our main menu manager, we're going to need 2 global variables. An array called goBackList equals an array, and this will be to go back to the previous menu if we're menus deep into our start menu. And the other one is going to be our var current menu, and this one's going to be of type int, which is going to keep our current menu, and you'll see why in a second. So now we need to create a swap menu function. So function swap menu request. And we're going to take in 2 parameters. We're going to take in a menu index, and I'm going to call this a menu index int. And we're going to take in a return index, also of type int. And since this function doesn't return anything, we're going to make it of a type void. So now we need to check if our menu index is actually within the scene. So to do that, we can just do if menu index is greater than or equal to getChildCount, or menu index is less than 0. And what do we want to do if this returns true? We just want to return. We don't want to do anything more in this function if our menu index isn't actually within the children of our main menu manager. So now we're going to set our current menu variable to our swap menu. Current menu equals menu index. Now we're going to have to get access to our child at the menu index or the current menu area. So var child equals getChild current menu, and we're going to set our child's visibility. So child.visible equals true, because this is the menu we want to be using at this point in time. Now let's use our return index. So let's just do a check to make sure our return index is actually a return index we want to use. You'll see why in a second. If return index is greater than or equal to 0, we want to append our return index variable to our goBackList. So goBackList.append, and just give it a return index. And now let's just get the child of our return index and set its visibility to false, because we don't want to be seeing this index anymore. .visible equals false. That's all we're going to need for this function. So let's create another function to go back to our previous menu. So to do that, we're going to create a function, swap menu to previous. We're going to take in no parameters, and this is going to be a type void since we're not returning anything. Now let's just check to see if our goBackList is empty, because if this is called and our goBackList is empty, we don't want to crash our game. So if goBackList dot is empty, we just want to return again. We don't want to do anything. Now let's get the child of our current menu and set its visibility to 0, to false, I guess. And I think I misspelled visible. I did. Now we want to call our swap menu request to swap back to our previous menu that we have. So to do that, we can just call the function swap menu request, and we're going to use our go back list. And in brackets, we're going to do go back list dot size -1. And then we're also going to pass in a -1. So this won't run and update our go back list to something that doesn't exist, or keep us going in a loop if we passed in our regular one. Now we just need to remove the last element of our go back list so that we don't keep going back to the same menu. So go back list dot pop back. We'll just remove the last element in our go back list. Now we need to swap the scene. So function on swap scene, we're going to take in a new scene parameter, and it's going to be of type packed scene. And this is also going to be a void return type. And so to instantiate a new scene, we can just use getTree dot root dot add child, and we're going to give it a new scene dot instantiate. That's all we're going to need. Also, since we are in a new scene, our game essentially, and we don't want the main menu anymore, we can just queue free. Get rid of our main menu. Now let's add another functionality for a quit game button. So function on quit game button pressed of type void getTree dot quit. That's all we're going to need. And that's all we're going to need for our main menu manager script. So now let's create our button script to actually use our functionality within our main menu manager. So let's go to our button and let's attach a script. And I'm going to call this button menu swapper button.gd. So we're going to need 3 global variables in this script. Add export, so we can set this in the inspector, var switch to node of type node. This is the node we're going to switch to. At export, var current node, and this is going to be the node we are currently using. And we're going to create a signal so we can actually update our main menu manager when we need to. So signal swap menu request, and we're going to give it 2 parameters, a swap index of a type int, and a return index also of a type int. Now let's connect our button to a signal so we can actually send the data to our main menu manager. To do that, we need the function ready, so it'll be called when this is created. Function ready void. And now we can just use pressed.connect. And we don't have a function yet, so I'm just going to call this on swapper button pressed. And this is going to keep throwing an error until we create the function, so let's do that. So function on swapper button pressed, give it no parameters, of type void, and we now just need to emit a signal to send our data to our main menu. So emit signal of type swap menu request, and we're going to use our switch to node dot get index, which is going to get the index in comparison to the other children below our main menu manager, and our current node dot get index. That's all we're going to need. Let's test out our functionality. So first, let's set our button, and let's set our swap menu request to our main menu and our swap menu and connect it. And now let's set our main menu in our inspector. Let's set this in our inspector. So our current node is our main menu tab 1. And if we duplicate this, we're going to have to set our button to switch to node to main menu tab 2. And to just make sure we know, we're going to call this other menu. Save this and let's give it a try. And this needs to be hidden. So if we hit options, or actually I set it on start game by accident, we're going to send into our other menu, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want. So now we want our start game to actually start the game. So to do that, we can just stop running, and I'm actually going to switch this. I'm going to delete our options button. I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this one options. And this one is going to be, I'm going to detach the script and stop the signal from firing. Perfect. Let's just test to make sure I didn't break anything. Start game, options, perfect. Okay. So now we're going to want another script. So I'm going to attach the script and I'm going to call this scene swapper button. This is going to look extremely similar to our menu swapper button.gd. So add export, switch to scene, of type packed scene. And now we're going to need a signal, swap scene, and we're going to pass in a new type of a new scene, packed scene, and function ready of type void pressed.connect on swapper button. Whoops. On swapper. Yeah, we can keep this a swapper button pressed. On swapper button pressed. And now let's create our function on swapper button pressed. Going to take in no parameters of type void. And we're just going to emit the signal. Emit signal. Swap scene. Scene. And we're going to pass in our switch to scene. Oh, I forgot the var here. There we go. So now if we attach this, and let's create another scene, and we're just going to call this a 2D scene. I'm going to call it main. Save. And actually, we're going to put our main menu into our main scene. And I'm going to save this as a main. And then we're going to create another 2D scene. And I'm just going to call this game. And I'm going to add in a sprite so that we know we loaded our game correctly. Sprite, just drag in our icon, put it in the center-ish, and save. So now let's test. So in our sprite 2D, we now need to set our switch to scene to our game scene. If I can find it, there it is. Save, and now we're going to run main. And it's not in the center. We're going to put it in the center, save, run. So if we hit start game, I didn't emit the signal. Whoops. Okay, swap scene signal, go to the main menu, and on swap scene, connect. Now let's run our game. Start game, loads everything perfectly. So now let's hook up our back button. So in our menu tab 2, let's just have this button. We're going to change this button to go to menu 3. And we're going to remove and we're going to have this button just say return. And we're not going to need our third button. So let's set this switch node to, let's duplicate this. And let's set the switch node to not our menu button 2 tab, but our menu button 3. And I'm going to delete this. And so on our return button, we're going to just go on pressed into our main menu. We're going to pick on quit. Actually, sorry. Swap menu to previous button pressed. Connect. Save. And now we're going to go into our button 2 and do the same thing. So button on pressed. Swap to previous menu. Connect. Save. And we're going to just change this so it's going to be menu 3. Let's test this now again. So options, menu 3, return, return. This works perfectly. Start game, everything works. Now let's just finally hook up our quit game button. So that's easy. We can just go into here, pressed, go into our main menu, on quit game, connect. And that should be it for our main menu manager. So if we go into main menu, launch, we can do everything we need. Quit game, which will close the game, start game, load the scene. That's all for this video. If you got anything from it, I would greatly appreciate a like. See you guys next time.